I'm going to show you how to write a press release for anything. In this case, I'm going to walk you through a press release that I wrote for my book. And let me just tell you a little bit about my book so that you know what we're talking about here. Here is the listing of my book on Amazon. It's basically a book on how to go from business idea to actually starting a business. And it's based on research I did of 300,000 entrepreneurs who have used my mobile apps in the past. And so basically, all the questions they were asked are answered in this book. So because the sample set is so big of so many entrepreneurs that I researched, chances are it addresses a lot of the issues that any new entrepreneur is going to have, and any questions they might have is going to be covered in this book. So, very high chance of that, extremely comprehensive. So now you understand. And this really segues well into having a press release, because one of the most important things is in a press release is that it should be something interesting and noteworthy, right? So because I did so much research for this, it's a little bit noteworthy. And it's a unique angle at things, right? It's not just another book on how to start a business. I mean, there are a ton of these. This one is quite unique because it's really based on research of 300,000 people, which is quite big. And also, just a segue, just a little bit of a side point. Whenever you have any kind of statistics or anything that makes your work look more authoritative, more backed by research, that is much better. So that whole 300,000 entrepreneurs thing, it adds a lot of credibility to the title, right? So research of 300,000 people, it's not like, going from your own experience. It's quite substantial. So anyway, that is a little bit of a segue. But what I wanted to mention is that what you have to, whatever you're promoting, there has to be some interesting concept, interesting angle, so that the potential reader of this press release, who is a journalist, so that it catches their eye. And so here the angle is, I did a lot of research, and an incredible amount of research, really, if you think about this number, and there's an association with mobile apps because the research was done of users of mobile app, and mobile apps are still sort of like a hot and new and exciting thing. So all that sort of adds to the uniqueness and interest level of the title of the press release. And the press release title is an extremely important thing because most of the time it's the only thing people will see. The title is the first thing people will see, and the title makes people decide whether they're going to look at more of the press release. So the title has to sort of come out with a bang. And this one, you'll be the judge of whether it comes out with a bang here. Most comprehensive book on how to start a business, based on research of 300,000 entrepreneurs. I could have added entrepreneurs who used the Problemio.com apps for entrepreneurs. It's getting a little bit of it's getting to be a long title, but these are all sorts of the kinds of things that they make the press release a little better. And what happens when, let's say the journalists, for example, they were interested, the title caught their eye. Well, what you want to do is have a subtitle, right? So this is the title, and this is the subtitle of a press release. It's sort of the subtitle is supposed to be longer now, but we made our title so long that it's about the same length. But the purpose of the subtitle is to reiterate and reinforce some of the interesting key points, right? So here actually it's interesting because see, I do mention the apps, right? Problemio business apps reached 300,000 downloads, packaged every question entrepreneurs ever asked and they faced, and answered them in this most comprehensive book on how to start a business. Okay, so the title is supposed to get the attention, and the subtitle is supposed to reiterate the points of the title. Okay, make the reader a little bit more interested. And the subtitle is seen only once a person clicks on the press release. And the title may be seen independently, and that will be the deciding factor of whether the journalist clicks on your press release or not to learn more about it. So the title has to be incredibly attention grabbing, whereas the subtitle has to be kind of, building interest on top of the initial title. Now let's get to the body of the press release. Here, here's the structure in the beginning. City, you want to mention where you're posting the press release, date, things like that, right? And then you start to get into the copy, the body of the press release. A couple of points on the press release body. You want to write it as a kind of a story, right? A big part of it at least should be written as a story, and you should have quotes in it. So, for example, if you look at it carefully, I have a few quotes here. Alex says, and by the way, I wrote this press release, but still you have to write it as though the journalist is kind of taking your interview, because like, it's just better because the journalist can then copy and paste this right into a story, right? Because the journalists are very busy and they don't always have time to write a unique story. So the more you can just help write a story for them, the better. So here I have a quote. It makes the article look like the journalist actually got in touch with me and interviewed me. So here's a quote. There's another quote somewhere in here. Yeah, see, you write it like this, Kennedynix, that's my last name, says the book covers blah 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 blah. So the quote ends here. It's like an entire quote. And you kind of also talk about, how so you kind of tell the story of how the book is written, why, how it came about, all that. And towards the end, you sort of write about the company, just a paragraph, and then you want to give contact information at the bottom, right? So again, my email, my phone number, and you might also want to add a nice photo that they should add. I didn't add it here, but you could add a nice photo that maybe your logo or maybe some photo of your product screenshot. And so that's just so that if the journalist does decide to publish your story, that would be the image they would use. So you're basically giving them everything. And when you're done with this, what you do is you can send this to PR Web, which is a press release sort of website. They'll send the press release on your behalf to hundreds or maybe thousands of journalists. Same thing with PR Log, or if there are top publications which you want to run your story, what you can do is you can send this press release right to the journalists who write on your business niche for the publications that you want to cover. You most want to cover your story. And what you can do is here's a trick to increase the chances of you getting published by those guys. Is when you send the press release, what you want to do is you want to say, like, you want to do an exclusive. An exclusive means that the story will be exclusively on their publication, right? So you're not going to send this to any other journalists, so that the story will be exclusively on whatever publication you want, and you give them something like 24 hours to reply whether they are going to follow through, and then it is going to be an exclusive article, and if not, then you send it to another journalist. But giving an exclusive is kind of a nice, neat way to help you increase your chance of getting your story published by a publication that you really are after. And I'll include the press release template right after the lecture, so you can just copy it and keep the structure, but just maybe add your information instead of mine. You also want to link to the book, whatever the product is, right? So for example, this is the most comprehensive, well-researched guide on business that's ever been written. We can link to it, right? You link to it, you give the URL, you apply, and I had the URL copied, pasted. This is the URL right here. Actually, if it is a book, you want to take it from here. I already did that. So here it is, and now when the journalist gets the book, gets the press release, they will just be able to click the press release and go right to the book, so they'll be aware of what the product is. And you might also want to link this to, link this to your http www.hermlemio.com, and there you go. They'll get it with links. You might also want to link this. You get the picture. You get the idea. You don't need me to show you how to do that. But just for right. So now everything is linked. If you want to really be good, you want to link this email as an email. But okay, you get it. And then the press release is fine. It's catchy. It has a catchy title. Has a story in there that the journalist can copy and paste. Again, you should have a photo, maybe a screenshot of your product, or maybe in my case a cover of the book. You could add it right here, and then you're set. You're set to send it off to journalists. Of course, if you're working with a publicist, they will already have probably a big list of journalists who know them. So if the publicist gets an email with the press release, if the publicist sends it to the journalists that they know, there will be a far higher chance that your story will get covered, of course, because the publicist has already established relationships. Whereas if the journalists hear about you the first time they get your press release, there will be a little bit less of a chance that they'll run the story because they don't know you, and it will take them, it will take them a little bit of time to learn about you, and that's a little bit of a barrier. So that's an advantage of like working with a publicist or a PR company, that you're going to be leveraging their existing relationships with journalists. And if you're doing this on your own without that, you're going to have to either kind of live with the lower chance that you're going to get coverage, or before you send this out, you should spend a month or two really establishing relationships with the journalist on social media, so that you can then sort of reach out to them and say, hey, I just sent you something, take a look. That sort of thing will again increase the chance that you might get press coverage from them. And if you're actually watching this on YouTube, you can access all of this on my course. I have a whole publicity course which covers way more than just this. This is more like a sample lecture. But the course covers a ton of ways you can have publicity, very actionable hands-on stuff, and a lot of high-level things as well. It's actually a very comprehensive course on how to get publicity, and I'll have a link with a discount code right in the description of the video on YouTube. So you can just click the show more, go to the description of the video with text, and then one of the links there will be a link to udemy.com where you can buy the course with a discount and get the template. There's actually a couple of hours worth of tutorials on which kind of way to get publicity. So you should, once you're done with the course, you'll be like a publicity getting machine kind of. It's a very good course. I put a lot of work into it, and I spend a lot of time adding lectures to it on all kinds of different topics, like how to get on podcasts, how to get on different publications, how to stand out, all those kinds of things. It's really great, actually. So anyway, so if you're interested, check it out. If not, this you can just sort of you could just sort of follow the flow here that I explained. It isn't complex. It's relatively simple, and you'll be set. So thanks for watching, and hopefully that was helpful. And hopefully, now you're going to be able to write your own press release. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, the full template and far more is on my course, and just check the link in the description to check out the course. You don't have to even buy the course. You can just take a look at the curriculum to see if it's interesting for you.